Of course, when you're at home, you get to go through certain things. And being that I'm on Facebook doing posts, I also get to see various things. And one of the things I've seen a lot more often than what I would like to actually is the fact that there's many people who have declared themselves atheists after growing up in an evangelical church. Didn't matter the denomination. They've just left for whatever one reason or another. But the biggest reason why they left is they saw how Christians really acted. And that's something that I think we have to, as the church, we have to be very careful about. Yes, this is Elder Adrian Heyman. And I'm going to talk in this particular session about saying you're a Christian versus being a Christian. And I would dare say that in too many times we vocalize, I'm a Christian, and we don't actually live as a Christian. That's a big problem because, like it or not, Christianity currently is blamed for many of the world's atrocities. And it's true. We're blamed that way because people who have said they were Christian have committed horrific crimes, have let people, millions, starve to death, who have enslaved millions of people. But everything that essentially we would attribute to the works of Satan, but we're the ones who are doing it, or those who call themselves Christians are doing it. And then those who are now showing themselves as Christians, they unfortunately, looks like my face is swollen a little bit. It's okay. But we have to actually now try to combat that. And it makes it very difficult because people will automatically point to, you say you're a Christian, why did you do that? It is a Christian nation, why did you do that? And the people who did that often have passed off the scene, so you can't ask them. So you have to fumble around with an answer, which again makes it very tough. And if I get upset at anything, that's the one thing I get upset at. Because no matter how well I try to live a life that's pleasing to Christ, no matter how I attempt to walk in Jesus' footsteps, no matter how many times I try to show Christ in my life, there's always someone that points to what happened before. And I can't deny facts. This is what they did. They have used the Bible to twist because of their, their lack of hermeneutical knowledge, knowing how to interpret the Bible, understanding what was for a particular age versus what it is today. For instance, the whole thing about slavery. They use one or two scriptures and not see the overwhelming evidence that Christ did not, he did not, what do you call it? He was not a proponent of slavery. He was in a place where slavery occurred. So many of his sermons, many of his parables introduced that aspect. Doesn't mean that he, what do you call it? He encouraged slavery, because his whole thing was about freedom. He who the Son set free is free indeed. Now that may not have freed them from slavery, but it freed them from the aspect of the aspect of such a thing that ended up destroying lives, especially the type of slavery that we have grown used to in this day and age. People who have been discarded, good for nothing, but to work at the most menial of tasks or to work the hardest for absolutely no pay whatsoever. And then if they don't do that correctly, then you beat them, you even kill them. People who think that they're better than someone else. People who feel as if God has chosen them. Because God has chosen them, they refer back to the Old Testament. In particular, and that's also something else too, that why would you put yourself back under the same law that has resulted in, let's say, when we try to apply it, it's the wrong time entirely. And you end up excusing death, excusing cruelty, excusing prejudice, and all that. Well, the Lord did this in this day. Well, that was in that particular. This is why we talk about dispensational theory, that God dealt with men in various types of dispensations. Because the way that he treated Adam is not the way that he would treat us now, which wasn't the way that he treated the Israelites, which is not the same way that Christ treated us. And if we put everything the same, then we miss a whole aspect of how God deals with man. That does not mean that God changes, that his righteousness changes. No. His righteousness is sure and is true. But the way he deals with it has changed depending upon who it was that he addressed. The Israelites were descendants of Abraham, part of the promise that was made to him. Noah essentially was part of a line of people that essentially got their beginning from Adam, and who, for the most part, kept up at least a certain knowledge of God in his life. A little bit different than, let's say, a person like Gideon, who was found, who the Lord chose to lead Israel. Different stories, different times. But the key thing here, I want people to understand, is being a Christian is not just shouting it. I'm a Christian, and the Lord said this, and it's much better for us to live it, to show what a Christian is, than to say that you're a Christian and don't live it. And that's been a problem. We have said we're Christians, but we haven't lived what a Christian should be. And that's why the name of Christ has been muddied, has been soiled, has been disrespected over these years. And why people, and in many cases, why people have left the church, however you want to call it. Whether you feel it's apostolic, Presbyterian, Baptist, Lutheran, Episcopal, whatever you want to say about it, because of how people have lived this, they have said, I'm not even dealing with any of it. It makes no sense. You're not even following the founder of it. Why should I follow this? And to be honest, I can't say anything to them, because they're right. Why should they follow this? So, instead of pronouncing on the rooftops and upon our stages that I'm a Christian, instead of saying that, proclaiming it, let's just go ahead and live it. Don't have to say a word. Don't have to tell someone, nudge with them, I'm a Christian. No. Don't say a word about it. Don't say anything. Just prove it by your life. Prove it by the way that you love others. Prove it by how you show that Christ is in you, by the way that you speak, act, think, walk, etc. Because after all, when we finally have finished our lives and we come before Christ, He's not going to say, how many times have you called my name out and identified with me by word? He's going to wonder, did you do what I say? Very simply, did you do what I said? Did you obey me? Did you follow me? Not did you support me visibly, but did you actually do what I had told you to do? For those who talk about grace covers all, grace does not cover disobedience. What grace covers is the inherent guilt that we have, that we may be able to obey. However, Jesus has always dealt with, did we live what we said? Did we live what He commanded? If not, do it now before it's too late. May God bless you and may He keep you.